It's Monty Python's owl stretching time. And props to you if you get that reference. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Owl Stretching Time, our new live reaction show where we watch The Owl House, one of the newest sensations to hit the Disney Channel, and it's only 10 episodes in, so that's really saying something. So yes, like our Amphibia video, we're doing an individual reaction to this show as well, because we really like this show. And I gotta admit, I never would have bothered with it if my sister didn't highly suggest it. And then of course once I watched it, I insisted Doug watch it, and then I insisted he watch it. And you know how fandoms go. I've been sucked into your horrible fandom. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna give our initial reactions of what we think of it so far, and then we'll go into questions we have for the newest batch of episodes that's coming up, premiering sometime later this week. Yeah, as you can tell, we definitely filmed this later on from the Amphibia video, as you see by my hair. So what did you guys think upon initial viewing?
I liked it. I mean, it's very early on, so it's like I know we got into Gravity Falls after the show had ended, so there was a whole bunch of stuff, that was available to us, whereas this feels, now we're actively a part of that mystery, so... Yeah, we were slowpokes getting into Gravity Falls, so while everyone in the fandom is putting up their charts and everything, and what's gonna happen, what's the mystery, and we're over here yeah, we know what's gonna happen. Because we're boring. But now we get to be a part of that, and I'm so excited. And what about you?
I really like the tone that they're going for with the show. It's one of those, old, really, has, weird, weird, crazy, different, creatures going on. The way I kind of see it and the way I describe it is it's kind of a cross between, it's Rick and Morty with, how, with its own little, magical nihilism that it's going for, as well as, this is going to be a bit weird, and I don't think anybody is going to, I don't think a lot of people are going to get this, but did anybody remember the Beetlejuice had an animated series?
Yes.
Back in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
I used to watch it first thing in the morning.
Yes. So that's what I kind of get with this. It just has this and it's also a similar premise where you have a human entering this weird crazy world with all these crazy creatures, anything with legs and a mouth pretty much. And I like that in this world that they've created, and it's just so, and Luce is just willing to just roll with it, and I think that's just brilliant.
When you think about it, Eda's kind of a combination of Beetlejuice and Rick Sanchez.
Yeah.
It's I kept trying to think she's definitely Rick Sanchez, but I feel she's somebody else. Oh yeah, Beetlejuice. The cartoon Beetlejuice, not the pervy live action Beetlejuice. Yeah. Although she apparently does get around.
Yes.
Although sometimes I do have to question if she is a fugitive and on the run, why does she keep setting up shop in the same exact place, and every, guard basically knows where she is, but they only show up, if she's making noise?
Yeah, I wondered that, too. But then
it's magic. We don't have to explain it.
Then again, Rick does the same thing. He's wanted by how many dimensions, and somehow he's able to go around casually, making deals with whoever. I guess it only matters if she's actually, sticking out. Or who knows, maybe it's a whole magic disguise thing that's only broken when somebody notices her. Who knows? So, of course, even though we're only 10 episodes in, there is a lot of questions we have as to what's going to happen for the rest of Season 1. I've already heard a bunch of fan theories and stuff, including the whole, that whole thing with the episodes, how each letter from an episode spells out, a phrase that supposedly, I guess, is a spoiler for what happens at the end of Season 1. I guess we'll wait and see if that's true or not. But for now, we have some other more important questions to ask. Who cursed Eda? When? How? And why? So we all know that Eda has a curse on her, and it makes her turn into a giant owl creature. So far, we don't know when this happened, just when she was younger. I guess maybe between school and, whenever Luce met her.
Yes.
And as to how, obviously a person put the curse on her, but she doesn't know who, or at least doesn't remember. Maybe that's part of the curse. And as to why, Eda has a lot of enemies, but I guess maybe there was a more significant reason. So again, we don't know a lot about that.
We only have our guesses based on, what we've been exposed to, such as, we know her sister may or may not be involved, but she definitely knows about the curse.
Yes.
We know that, there's this mysterious figure that showed up in Eda's dreams, so we can only assume that's the person that put the curse on her. Mm-hmm. Then there's also, the possibility that it was the Emperor, or there's, in a flashback or, end credits scene, they mention, that Eda, her sister, and this unknown student were all involved in some sort of mishap at, I forget the name of the Hexside? Hexside, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we don't know anything about the thief, but there's, that's definitely a suspect there.
It is possible that I have two possibilities as to who placed the curse on her. One might have been the Emperor himself, or that mysterious thief that we don't know about. Because because those we feel because we've been getting a lot of information more about Eda's backstory, and I feel like eventually at some point a lot of this is going to tie into why she has this as to why she has this curse and everything related to that. Mm-hmm. How is Eda going to control her curse now that the elixir no longer works?
Gotta say that was interesting timing. That happened just when Luce comes to live with her.
Yes.
Because we don't know how old Eda is, so for all we know, she's been taking this elixir for years, maybe decades, and now all of a sudden it's not working.
It's possible that they could just come up with some other thing where that would work in replacement of an elixir. I don't think it'll be like another elixir. It would probably be something different, maybe a spell that Luce learns, or maybe they just say, you know what, we're just gonna see if we can dig up more of Eda's past and figure out who placed this curse and get that person to reverse the curse, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or for all we know, Eda could learn to control the transformation, do it at will. To have sort of a Professor Hulk situation going on.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Although with the Professor Hulk thing, he's still in Hulk form.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Either she could, transform at will, or she could basically, combine her, normal form into, the cursed form. And there is something to be said because already King has managed to snap her out of her transformations both times that they've happened. Mm-hmm. So,
Well, he did the one time, but that's because she was halfway between transforming, so she was still coherent, but, at the same time didn't have the elixir.
That could be a way of how they keep it under control, where, having her halfway where she's still conscious, she could still be conscious enough to have this big hulking frame to do other things that otherwise she wouldn't be able to do. That's kind of how they keep that balance.
Yeah, that's probably the best they got for now until they find something else. Mm-hmm. The Lord knows how that's going to go down.
Yeah.
Did Eda create Hooty and the Owl House, or did she acquire them through other means? They don't really say. I think they did mention Hooty might have been his own form before meeting Eda. So, for all we know, she converted him, transfigured him into the Owl House.
I think Hooty was separate from the Owl House because Hooty did indicate that that Hooty was a different form prior, because Hooty does mention in one episode to Eda about how you taught me and look how well I turned out. So So it's possible Hooty was probably some other form and just kind of melded with and just created, and then Eda just decided to meld it. Did something happen, and then Hooty just melded, created a spell where Hooty melded into the house. So I think the house was already there, but not in the current state that it was in. Like Hooty wasn't included with the house. Like Hooty might have been separate from the house at one point. That maybe like it was somebody Eda befriended, and then all of a sudden there was some event or whatever that caused Hooty to become part of the house. I don't think we're gonna get that kind of backstory this season. That's probably gonna be like in a future episode somewhere down the line. But
well, one thing's for sure, the house is definitely alive because we've seen it blink, we've seen it breathe, we've seen it get up and walk away.
Granted, that required a spell, but...
Yeah, well, the point is, it's still alive. It has, like, you know, its defense mechanisms and stuff, so the question is, you know, is it alive because Hooty fused with it, or is the house in and of itself alive?
I want to say it's the latter. Because I feel like it's the latter, because it would... I mean, given in this world, it makes the most sense to have the house already be alive, and Hooty just been added to it, so he just... I think that's what makes the most sense.
Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of like a coincidence that she just happens to have a spell that turns her into an owl, and she has a house that turns into an owl too. So, coincidence? I think not.
Well, she's also got the she's got Albert, who is what do they call the thing? Talisman, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, she's got a whole owl theme going.
Yeah. What made Eda no longer want to join the Emperor's Coven? As we've seen, Eda thinks covens are dumb because they only require you to be an expert in one subject matter of magic, which I agree is kind of stupid unless you have a natural gift to that thing. The only exception to that is the Emperor's Coven that allows you to use all magic, so obviously it seems like a good fit for Eda. And we even heard from her sister that at one point she wanted to be part of the Coven, but all of a sudden now she is basically avoiding them, even though Lilith is still trying to recruit her into it. So I'm wondering what happened exactly, if she had a falling out with the Emperor, or if she just stumbled upon some secret of it that, like, you know, put her off. Like, again, we don't know. Like, the simplest explanation is that, you know, Eda's just a wild card, like a free bird who just wants to, like, not be part of anything. But I feel like there's something a little more to it. Just because, again, you know, it was something she wanted initially, and then now it isn't. So, again, part of, like, the story we've yet to discover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably something to do with the curse, too. There's also the fact that, you know, she distrusts covens because not only does it mean that you now just focus on one magic, but all the other magic you have been able to do up till then just gets sealed away. You can't access it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, the Emperor's Coven, though, you can use anything, but still, it's like, yeah, I think it goes also with Eda being too much of a free spirit to be held down by, you know, the man.
I think I'm in the camp of that she saw something that she wasn't supposed to see, and maybe was given the curse as a way to, like, I don't want to say like to make her forget, but to sort of, I guess, because I mean she has no memory of who put the curse on her, and the curse is kind of like a distraction to kind of.
Yeah, it would fit definitely with you know, again, her wiped memories and all that. Like, I assume maybe it happened around the same time. It was just one big smorgasbord of, like, bad things that just happened. But,
I think she saw something that she wasn't supposed to see.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm leaning towards.
That makes sense. She saw the wizard behind the curtain.
Yeah, pretty much. Why is Lilith so desperate to recruit Eda? I had to think a little bit on this, because on the one hand, like, they did want to go. Like, even if Eda did see something that she wasn't supposed to see, maybe Lilith doesn't know.
Yeah, it's possible. But, I mean, she seems to be, like, one of the head witches of the Coven right now. You think she would have been privy to that stuff by this point.
She probably doesn't. She knows about the curse, but probably doesn't know why the curse was placed on her sister. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that there's information that Lilith doesn't know. but still wants to recruit Eda anyway.
Though it could also be a power move. What you call it, to recruit Eda would, get her bumped up in rank, possibly, It could be for her own self-interest.
It could be both.
But it could also be that, she genuinely wants to, be reunited with her sister and, have the two of them work together rather than, constantly being at each other's throats.
That is possible. I mean, we've seen that, they must have been close when they were younger, given how Eda would defend her in school and everything. But at the same time, we also saw in that one episode that she's recruiting Eda because the Emperor ordered her to. So I guess it could be, it just happens to be convenience for her. It's like, yeah, I'm doing what my master says, while at the same time, trying to get my sister to join me like I've always wanted. So, but at the same time, I'm wondering what happens.
Could be mutual interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering what happens if she finds out the Emperor has other plans for her. If she's actually gonna try to stand up for her sister, or if she's just gonna follow orders. So again, that's yet to be seen.
Who was the unnamed thief Eda and Lilith teamed up with at school during that cafeteria fight? Again, that has yet to be determined. We're still waiting on that one.
I find it really weird how that never gets addressed in the show. It's just a random tidbit at the end during the credits where you have to pause to actually read it, and yet in the what do they call that? The owl.
Look
who's talking.
Yeah, they specifically pointed it out during that segment, and I'm like, huh. So I guess it must be important.
It's got to be relevant.
Yeah.
It's absolutely got to be relevant if they're, making it a point of talking about it.
I guess it's kind of like in from Gravity Falls, where they would always, at the end of the theme song, show a brief flash of that circle, even though they never actually addressed it.
But I mean, it's also another, it's like Adventure Time or Venture Brothers, and where there's this minute detail that shows up and you think it's just one-off thing, and then it gets its own episode or string of episodes. It becomes focused on later down the road. So it's after, things like that, it's I can't ever rule anything out.
That's how you know a show's doing something right.
So we're talking Venture Brothers kind of intrigue.
Exactly. No, it's you think it's this one-off joke, and then they later on they wind up bringing it into the bigger picture. It's I never even would have thought about that. So it's now I can't ignore this stuff.
I know, that's what going off on a tangent. That's what drives me crazy about watching Venture Brothers, because they do it with everything, everything.
I forget about stuff, and then I go back and rewatch, and I catch this thing what you call it in the case of the Venture Brothers, in the third season. There's a character that's just in the background. Nobody ever talks about him. And then the sixth season, it's the big, season arc is all about this character.
Not that I'm saying that Owl House actually goes to that extent. I don't think, no, because their target audience is kids, as opposed to Venture Brothers, their target audience is adults. So, so I think, there's going to be a level of intrigue here, but not as dense as say Venture Brothers. That's expert level kind of of audience viewer watching.
That's uber nerd level.
Yes.
Uber comics.
Yeah. Ultimately, like I said, the point is, I wouldn't rule that out as just a passing thing that is absolutely going to be relevant at some point, and it's not only going to be relevant, it's going to be the big deal. So yeah, don't ignore any minute details. It's like the snail in Adventure Time. It's like you might catch it in one episode, and then you find out there's a snail in every single episode. In fact, it winds up being the thing for the lich. So don't ever rule anything out.
Sorry for that tangent.
I swear it's relevant.
Also, watch the Look Who's Talking bits that they do at the end of each episode, because they're dropping clues. Otherwise, we wouldn't be stuff that we.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff like I wouldn't even have thought about, but because they brought it up, it's like, oh my god, yeah.
And it's so weird because the way it's like. It's framed and the way it's voiced and everything, you would think, oh, this is just a stupid little, like, thing for kids at the end, like when they would do the Sonic Says or, like, the Sailor Moon lessons or whatever. But no, they actually point out, like, legit...
They're dropping knowledge!
Eggs. Yeah, it's weird. Like, if you can tolerate, the annoying voices and stuff, it's actually quite informative. So don't skip over that when you're watching this.
It's like one of those talking shows, like Talking
Dead, yeah.
Talking Dead and stuff like that.
What is the Emperor's deal, and how does he factor into everything? So as of now, we've yet to see the Emperor or hear anything from him. We do know he is the leader of the Crimson Isles. We know that he doesn't like nonconformity. He actively has people arrested for not fitting in, and of course he seems to have a vendetta against Eda. So. Obviously, he's, gonna be, the big baddie. He's gonna be, the Fire Lord in Avatar, basically. They're gonna build up to him, most likely. But, yeah, in terms of, his deal, I feel like, yeah, he's... The way they're building up to him, he's probably gonna have something to do with, again, Eda's curse and everything that's going on with her. And, yeah, again, this is final boss level, I'm probably imagining. And I'm wondering, again, how Lilith's going to play into it, if she's going to side with him or if she's going to go against him to save Eda. So, yeah, again, that's all we can really say at this point, right?
Basically.
Yeah. Why is Eda reluctant to teach Luz magic? At this point in the series, she doesn't have to, because Luz at this point in the series is going to be enrolled into Hexside, so she is going to be learning magic. But as far as Eda goes, her being reluctant, it's maybe she knows something about Luz that we don't know.
It's hard to say. I think there's definitely levels. Given that Luz kind of sprung it up on her. I mean, just Luz showing up in the first place was a huge surprise. So and her coming in. She only wanted her to stay because, she knew stuff about the, human world and, the items that she was selling so she could be of use to her.
Yeah, what is the function of a rubber duck? I mean.
I think it's kind of like that of, the role of a familiar in, the vampire and What We Do in the Shadows. It's like...
We were joking about that the other day, too.
I think, and I think it's as we've gone on, there's different levels of, why Eda's been reluctant. I think either there's been, she's just too lazy to do it. She doesn't want to teach. She doesn't want to, again, be the conformist. I think, then there's also apparently, she got drained from just showing her that one thing of magic. Oh, one more spell apparently did kill Eda. And I think also maybe the curse might factor into it. There's also the fact that initially she didn't know that Luz would even be capable of performing magic. So I think it's things have just kept changing in their dynamic over these few episodes that I think now Eda's a little less reluctant. But at the same time, I think she knows that she's also not really the best teacher, which is why she finally, relinquished her to Hexside.
I guess.
I think, also that she cares about her.
Yeah, it just seems weird because she seemed to know that, Luz couldn't do magic for biological reasons, because she doesn't have that magic sac or whatever. But that there was another form of magic to learn. The way Luz ended up learning was, to draw it out. But you think she would have said something about that from the beginning instead of stringing her along. But it's like you said, it was probably because she just wanted to keep her around just to help her with all the human stuff. But if that was the case, why even expose her to magic or even, allow her to go to Hexside? Because, that's just kind of fanning the flames a bit.
Mm-hmm. Also, as a side note, we don't know who Luz's father is.
Yeah, but
at the beginning of the series, we see Luz's mother, but we don't know who the father is. So it's possible that she only knows only has a little bit of magical power because maybe her father was maybe someone from the.
I don't think they're going that route because they've already, done an episode where they turn that, chosen one trope on its head. So it's like, yeah. I don't think they want to go that route. I think they want to, have her be nobody who, makes her own way.
Subsequently, that's my favorite episode so far, is that, second episode in, they totally throw away the whole Chosen One narrative. And I was, really happy about that, because that is so overdone at this point, and it makes no sense, because it's like, oh yeah, a random ass human goes to this whole magical land, and somehow they can do all of, this stuff that's only possible in their land, and they were prophesized to come and save everybody. It's just, again, so overdone. So.
That was the thing I absolutely hated about the Star Wars, sequels, is that, the fandom in particular was, wanting desperately for Rey to be, a Kenobi or a Skywalker, and it's like, why does she have to be, the daughter of some famous, someone, one of the main characters? Can't you, why must we, be so afraid of having this character who has no affiliation whatsoever build up from the ground up?
Well, you could blame the original trilogy for that.
True,
Luke the son of Darth Vader. So.
True, but that was that story. This is a different story, and Owl House is a different story.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I never really paid much mind to it. I just figured either Luz's father was already dead, or she just came from a single parent household. Because it's not like she texts her father to let her know she's going to camp or anything. So obviously he's not in the picture, and I just don't think it's going to be a factor. Again, this is a Disney, thing. So obviously there's going to be one or both parents that are dead or absent. So, I figured...
Disney trope!
Pretty much. So, yeah. In terms of, Eda being reluctant, though, again, it was kind of frustrating, because that was the whole purpose Luz even stayed. And, she only had, 3 months Earth time to, do so. So I'm wondering, what happened when those 3 months were up? And she hasn't learned anything. So it's thank God she's going to this school now.
How are the teachers at Hexside going to teach Luz? They probably have their own curriculum and everything, so it's probably going to be pretty standard. But I would also imagine there is room for, the students to kind of perfect their own techniques. Plus, they might also encourage her into the Coven, which, oh boy, that's going to conflict.
Well, as we stated before, Luz can't do magic the way the others can, because even though none of them have their own staffs and stuff, they can still do hand magic. Luz can't. Which means she'd have to be put in, either a remedial course or have, a specialized tutor or something, just to teach her the old way of doing magic. And the question is, can those teachers even teach that method?
I'm pretty sure they can. If they find somebody who, maybe they have, the one teacher who's, has, the one classroom and it's all, full of, kabas and stuff because it hasn't been used in, centuries. It hasn't been used in, decades or whatever. So, and then Luz comes like, oh my god, I finally, it's the teacher's like, oh my god, I finally have a student now. That's how I feel like they're going to go with that. They could do something like that.
Or maybe, the principal's actually going to teach her. Because think about it, he surprisingly was accepting of her actually going to the school, despite, again, knowing that biologically she can't do magic. So
Also, the fact that, he knows Eda's past, and he's like, and he knows that she's wanted, and yet he still was willing to overlook that. Granted, he had Eda, make up for her sins in school, but yeah, I think that is kind of, the headmaster's definitely the one to watch.
Yeah.
it's weird. He's like surprisingly chill for a guy with a demon on his head. But I'm also like kind of a bit suspicious too. Like I'm wondering if this might be a trap.
Could be.
Yeah, good.
We have that's yet to be determined.
Yeah. Does Luz have some secret inner magic? So, as we stated, Luz is not a chosen one. I mean, at least I hope she's not, given, again, they dispelled that from the very beginning. However, it seems pretty obvious she does have some sort of magical ability going on, considering when they did that whole slumber party thing, they were able to actually, like, make the owl house rise up and move on its own. And we've seen from, like, based on Amity's slumber party, they couldn't even make a doll move, and yet here's Luz, a human that was able to do that. And at first you're thinking, oh, it must have been one of her friends whose magic took over, but clearly, the way Eda was talking about, how powerful the spell was, and then she looks at Luz, something's going on with that. Like, we already see she's like, Luz has been creative about getting around the whole, not being able to biologically do magic thing, so I'm wondering what else to her is, like, gonna override that whole, like, magical ability thing.
Or she has some untapped power that she just doesn't know about.
It's possible. Or
But
maybe
I feel like that's also another cliche that's just being thrown in there.
Or human magic.
human magic.
Human magic!
Is that an oxymoron?
Or maybe it's just by virtue of being exposed to the world she gains magic.
Could be.
Like, again, we see that, like, apparently humans can do magic, it's just a different way, but I'm just wondering, what is it specifically about Luz? I mean, I know, again, you were talking about the whole, maybe she has a parent that's into magic thing and she inherits it, but I don't know, I assume they're going to go a different route with that. Maybe she'll have, like, a specialized magic, maybe a new specialty in magic. We'll see.
What is King's deal? What is his deal? Although, like, in the first episode, we think, like, oh, King is this, he was this big old demon, but now he's tiny. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's his deal. I don't think that's his deal. I think there is something else. I think there is something else. Probably something even more funnier that we haven't even thought of yet. Like, him being king of the demons, like, okay. Maybe they want to go that way. Okay. But I think it's something entirely different. Like, he thinks he's like the king. Like he was some like grunt of like some other demon gang or whatever. And he only dreams of being king. Like, that's about as far as it goes. Like, he only pretends to be. He just says he was king at one point just to impress Eda.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that seems to be his deal the whole time. It's like he tries to talk big about knowing about these demons to protect Luz and Eda from them, and then they like encounter one of those demons, and it's completely different from what he thinks it was.
Yeah, I definitely do think that, because, I mean, we were not really given anything on King other than, he lives with Eda, he's wanted just like she is, although I guess not as much, just because he's small and easily overlooked, but I feel like there is more to that, because we don't know how they met, we don't know how long they've, been together, and I know he said that, like, he was this all-powerful king, but I'm wondering if, like, there's something else to his backstory, maybe. Like, maybe he did come from a race of demons, but they're not as, like, big and scary as he makes them out to be. Yeah, there's a lot to learn about King that I'm sure we're going to that's going to get addressed later on, but I it's still something that I'm curious about, especially given how he's so determined to take over the world. And it's like, it has all like this whole Napoleon complex going on. It's just adorable. I love his scream. It's so cute.
Even Eda thinks it's adorable.
Yeah.
Freaking snaps her out of her curse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was Bat Queen's former master? Yeah, that's gonna be. I feel that's definitely got to be something that's got to be addressed. And
Yeah, that's something I never thought would become a plot point.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know the whole thing about the Talisman came up and, you know, explaining about Albert and everything, but I didn't think that would pertain to Bat Queen. And, like, she's fucking huge, which means her master has to be a freaking giant.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, too, like, if that's another person, like, is that, like, does she maybe belong to the Emperor or to a race of giants or something? Like, a possible enemy in the future or something? Because obviously, like, the person must not have been nice if they abandoned her that way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And also, it's like, how did she go from being a palisman to, like, being this respected figure? I mean, I know she collected, you know, other palismans, but I mean, among, like, anybody on the Crimson Isle, she has a reputation.
So now she's able to breed. She has the little babies.
Does that mean the other palismans are able to breed too?
I guess.
That raises so many questions.
Unless they do it symbiotically, they just like and then cough up a baby.
That's kind of like what Bat Queen did.
Yeah, well, her babies did anyway. Multiplied into 3 babies.
But that's not going to get addressed until probably not till like season 2 at least.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get to that because that's more like a one-off. That's more like a.
No, that's not a one-off because they basically said that they're going to try and help her out. Mm-hmm. So I feel that's going to get it. I feel it's going to get addressed. We're going to get like something, you know, another episode or 2 leading up to, you know, who her master was. But yeah, that might not be solved fully this season. But I do feel like we're going to get some steps towards it.
There's also the possibility that her master might not even be around anymore. Because remember, she said it had been centuries since she'd seen him. So either her master is an immortal like her, or
maybe they find descendants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe the descendant is the emperor. So who knows? So much intrigue.
Yeah.
And the final question, one that I've been curious about, how does time work in the Crimson Isles? Because, again, we know that Luce is only here for like 3 months, the length of her summer break. You know, that's the only reason she's able to stay is because she can, use the excuse, oh, I'm at summer camp, so her mom doesn't get, worried about her and stuff. But at the same time, she's being enrolled in school, which they said she would be next semester. So I'm wondering, how does time work in this universe as opposed to Earth? What is, like, the school, what are the school hours and, like, length of time? Is it, like, the Americas where, like, it's all year except for summer? Or is it, like, other places where they only have designated breaks? We don't really know that. And I'm wondering just how long she intends to stay in this school, or if, like, she even intends to go back to her world, if she's, like, staying in school.
I think there is going to be an episode dedicated to that, where, like, where Luz's mom gets a hold of her and be like, hey, sweetie, how you doing? And, like, oh, great, just, doing camp stuff. And just like, oh, and she's like, oh, that's funny, because the camp, like, ended, like a week ago or a month ago, and it's like, oh, and you weren't on the bus. So like, oh,
Yeah, because I'm wondering if this has like a Narnia deal to it, where like you spend a whole lot of time in like, months or years, whereas it only equates to like an hour or so in the human world. Because that would like be way convenient and allow Luz to stay longer.
But I don't think they're going to go that route. I don't think it's going to be Narnia time, though. I think it's going to be like real time. I'm thinking it's probably going to be real time.
I mean, we've seen that Luz already got a text from her mom asking how she's enjoying summer camp, so obviously not that much time has passed, but at the same time, like, again, it's because the whole thing with school that's, like, getting to me. I'm like, okay, so how long is this thing with school going to last before she has to go home? Because she will have to eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, there is also, she could wind up going back and forth.
That's what is possible. I mean, Eda does have the ability to do that, plus other magical creatures have, escaped to the human world.
Giraffes.
So, clearly it's possible, but I'm just, again, wondering, how long she can get away with that. Because I know her mother's, like, a nurse and probably on call all the time, but at some point she's going to notice.
I think there's going to be an episode, eventually get to a point where they're just going to let Luce's mother know. And maybe there'll be like an episode where like Luce's mother starts like kicking ass or whatever. I don't know.
Anything's possible, I guess.
It worked in Doctor Who.
So yeah, those are all of our inquiries for the second half of the Owl House, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. There's so many questions that need to be answered, so many ways that this show can go, and it's almost maddening, but I am enjoying myself. And again, it's not helped by the fact that that those owls keep pointing out little things, and I'm like jumping on it and like, oh, this has got to be important. But now it's gonna drive me nuts for weeks. So again, watch for our reaction videos. We're gonna again be doing episode by episode. We'll give our critiques at the end and update it. What we think's gonna happen from there. And again, watch our Amphibia show as well. God, so many mysteries going on right now. I don't know how we're going to deal. You come back, we're going to have a big chart behind us with like strings attached. And you're like...
Yeah, Charlie Daly from like Totally Sunny. Like...
Anyway, until next time, folks, I'm Kat McBerry.
I'm Eric Stoller.
I am Doug McBerry.
And thank you for getting sucked into this awful fandom with us. Till then.